Welcome to Kajabi training for today. Sue McLachlan here from the Unicorn Advisory. Excited to share another cool feature of Kajabi with you. Today we're going to be looking at segmenting. So if you have wondered how you can make your emails go to just specific people in your audience and how you can segment people, you may find it's actually simpler than you think. So we're going to go through, I'm going to show you some different ways to do that so that you can target your emails just to go to the people who you want them to go to. It's very, very helpful, and Kajabi makes it easy. Like, they make so many things easy. So most of the segmenting that you will do, you can do in two places. So in this people area is one place that you can create segments through using filters, and you can also do it in marketing when you're actually sending your emails. You can create segments then. So generally you can filter by anything in Kajabi, and I'm going to show you how we can do that. But there may be some situations where you want to save those segments so you don't have to rebuild those filters, and they're just in there for every time. Perhaps you have members of a course, a program, membership, things like that, where you're regularly sending emails, and you don't want to have to go through and pick from the drop downs and get the segments. Well, you can actually save them and just have them in here. So these are the Kajabi segments that are already created. So you have members. Now, members in Kajabi, just so you know, members are not necessarily a member of one course. That'll work if you only have one program, but it's anyone who ever has been a member of any program. So a member is someone who's signed up to one of your offers, even if it's a free offer. So don't rely on using members as a way to contact people in your program. You actually need to create a special segment for those people. You can also check who's subscribed, who is inactive. So if you go in, inactive is going to I wasn't going to show any on mine because this is everyone's inactive on mine because this is my test account for privacy, so I don't have to try and figure out how to blur everyone's details out. But yeah, you can go through and check, these are these ones that Kajabi sets up for you, but basically they're setting them up around conditions, and you can set up your own conditions. These are some ones that I've played with before. I'm going to show you how to do it again. Does own the course, does not own the course but has been active, does not own a particular product, your founding members, they're in a challenge that you're running but they don't own the product, they're interested, they've clicked on some emails about your course or program, your launch, but they haven't yet purchased the program, your launch list. There's lots of different options. I'm going to go through. There's heaps in there. This is my playing around zone. So I've done lots of different things to show different strategies over the last year and a half while I've been doing Kajabi training. So I'm going to show you a few types of segments that you could use, common and popular ones. And if you've got any questions around segmenting, like, hey, I'm wondering how I could send to just these people, for example, or if you're wanting to tag people and then just, have your emails go to just those people, let me know if it doesn't fall into my current list of things that I'm going to show you. All right, so with your segments, we're just going to get rid of this one here that's up, this inactive, because it's not working. And I'm going to show you how to create some filters in here. So if your area doesn't look like this, I think this might be permanently set now. Go into settings, and Kajabi have these features called labs, which is kind of like after they've beta tested it, it's before it's released to the general public. So if you come into labs, I think people... Okay, so this is the new people page. So I'll just turn it off so you can see. If you don't have that turned on, which you could have if you've got a fairly new account, your people page might look a little bit different, and it might look like... Oh, look at all, oh my gosh, see, it looks so much nicer. All the segments that I've made. So it might look like this, where we have, it just looks a little bit different. You've got your segments along the top, and your filters will look like this. So, so don't panic if you're going, Sue, mine does not look like that. It's just two different ways of viewing it. I would suggest, I do think it is a lot nicer to use the one where you turn it on in Labs. It just looks a bit cleaner and easier to use. But yeah, I do love, Kajabi's always bringing out new stuff. I do. That's one of the reasons why I really love Kajabi, the constant iterations, improvements, new cool things like podcasts and coaching, but even just small things like, just changing around how these things look to make them easier to use. Okay, so we've got our filters over here now. So we can search people and it just cleans it up. So instead of having all that, at the top, you actually go into a drop down and it's just a lot nicer looking. So let's go in and I'm going to show you how to do some filtering. So there's a few different ways. So firstly, you'll want to choose by category. So you could choose by activity. When someone was added or when they were active, or potentially even when they're not active. If it was a member that was not active, I would probably do a double filter on that. So let's go member was not active in the last 90 days and then owns a course or a product, or membership would be a really good option for this. So we're going to go down to products. And we're going to say has, so they're not active in the last 90 days and they have the membership product. So this is not going to bring anything up because this is my testing account, but you can then apply the filter. It's going to show you which members. Oh, look at that. It does bring stuff up. Excellent, excellent. I've prepared earlier and didn't even know. So it's then going to show you the members that have not been active in your membership in the last 90 days. Now you could save that as a segment because the really cool thing is segments are, oh my gosh, what's the word? I've had a brain blank. They keep updating. There's a word for it, dynamic. So segments are dynamic. So you can set the conditions for the segment. And when that changes, like say Peter, Mr. P. Sue, comes onto the site and then he's active, then he's going to drop out of inactive. So it can be a good way to test. So you could save that and maybe, once a month you could email members who fit that condition. So you don't have to go through and build that filter again. You could save that as members not active over 90 days. And then that could just be one of the things that you do, throughout the month, maybe at the end of the month, just doing a little check-in, just saying, hey, how you doing? I noticed that you haven't logged in for a while. Is there anything that we can help you with? You could even do that 60 days, whatever you would like to do, just as a way to re-engage people. But that's just an example of a condition, and it could be helpful that you use for a course, especially if it's a cohort-based course where it only goes for a certain amount of time. If you know that you're doing a 12-week program and someone hasn't logged in for 60 days, you might want to be like, hey, I don't want you to miss out on anything, like jump back in. So that is one example. So I'm going to clear that. You could save that. So just go save a segment and then you would call it something so you remember what it is. Members inactive more than 90 days. And then I'm going to show you afterwards how you can then just email people really quickly and easily. One other thing that you could do is you could take action on the people in that segment. You could just subscribe them to an email sequence. Maybe you've got some kind of re-engagement sequence. You could register them to an event. You could add a tag, possibly even remove a tag. You can export those members. I don't recommend unsubscribing. I'm not sure that there's many circumstances where you would want to unsubscribe people. Maybe if you're doing a list scrub, but I've got strong opinions about list scrubbing, which I will bring in on another day. You can do different things. You can add a tag, and then the tag can trigger other automations. I'm going to go into that in our automations lesson. But maybe you want to tag people who are active, and maybe you want to do something special for those people. Maybe you want to invite them, anyone who has been active. Maybe that you could use that to promote a special product as a bit of a reward. Anyone who is active and logging into their account, maybe they get invited to a bonus webinar. So you could create a webinar event and they get registered, only the people who meet the conditions of this segment. So lots of things that you can do around that. So I'm going to get rid of this segment now. And oops, we're going to undo that because otherwise all the people are done. I'm going to look at another filter that you can use, a really common one. So say you are running a webinar or a challenge, either or. So you've got some kind of launch event going and you're sending out the post-event emails where you are then starting to sell. So prior to the webinar, you could be targeting everyone on your list and saying, hey, come and join me on the webinar. And then after the webinar or the challenge is when you start selling your program. And you want to send emails to people who were registered for that webinar or for the challenge, but don't own your product. So you don't want to send those sales emails to people who already have your course or membership because that'd just be annoying. So what you can do in that situation is you can, if it was a webinar and they were on an event, you could go by event or you could go by form. So let's say that you have a form submitted For, let's go, challenge registration, same for Zoom, like whatever it is, evergreen webinar, whatever the case is, you would tick that particular event. Then you would add another filter that would be products or offers. You could do it based on both, depending whether you have a product set up or whether you want to do it based on particular offers. If it's for a course and you've done multiple different offers with payment plans like pay in full, annual, like all sorts of payment plans, I tend to just stick with the product. Otherwise, you've got to add every single one of them in, and that can get a little bit annoying. And then you want to have does not have, and then you would choose it. So let's say it's the membership that you're selling. So you want to be people who have registered for the challenge, so they were in your challenge or your webinar, whatever it is, but they do not own your membership product. So at the moment, we've got no people in that segment, but you can then save that segment for future. So you will then be able to track that as it builds, like as people join your webinar, and you'll be able to just isolate the people who don't own your product. And then those are the people who you can send those emails to. All right, so that you could save. I think I've already got that one. Does not own. Not registered for the challenge and no course. I think I've done no course, no webinar. I've done a few different iterations of this. All right, so we'll cancel out of that one and we'll try a different one here. But if you can see the saving of the segment, you don't have to do that because you can add these filters at any time. It just saves you from rebuilding the segment, especially if you've got, a few different things that you're adding into it. It's just that little bit of time saving so that you never have to build it again. Okay, some other things is, assessment based. Have they passed, failed, completed an assessment, and you can choose options there. You can, filter by custom fields. Where have we got? What's the best ice cream flavor? Okay, that's really weird. Okay, so you might be, it would have to be something in this, I believe, that where they ticked. So confirm you're happy to receive emails. And then, so in that situation, you'd have to go to the custom field and actually type in the value that you put on the field. So yeah, we're not going to worry about that one. That's a little bit complicated for today. Email activity. This is a really helpful one. Email activity was not opened. So sometimes I'll use this when I want to resend an email that was sent and I want to resend it to the people who didn't open. I do not do that with every email because it can get annoying, because some people, their email system will say that it wasn't opened, and especially with all these new changes that are coming in around iOS. So you want to use this sparingly for important emails. So the first time that you send an email, maybe that particular time of day, maybe, someone didn't see it or whatever, change the subject line and resend the same email to the people who didn't open it. So you can then choose, and you'll actually, you can choose it based by email was not opened for a number of days, like people who haven't opened, but you can actually go and choose by a broadcast and say was not opened, and then choose the actual email that's gone out. And you might want to only, so you might want to go and set that up. I'm just going to pick up a random one. You might want to only resend to people who don't own whatever it was that you were talking about, or you only want to send it to people who are on a launch list, for example, not to your entire list. So, there's lots of different ways that you can think about different filters that you can add and different ways that you can layer to get really, really targeted in exactly who your emails are going to, because, the more that you can be specific in the emails that you're sending out, I honestly do see value in sometimes emailing your entire list, because sometimes people may not fall into those segments, but I do think, when you are sending a lot of emails, particularly around a launch, or if you're sending multiple emails to ask people to register for a challenge or register for a webinar or some kind of launch, like getting really specific and not sending all the emails to everyone can really help you hone in on getting to the right people. Now, the other situation is you might want to only send emails to people who own your course or your membership or your product. So I'm going to get rid of that one, and we might want to just be products has, let's go July pattern, or has mini course. Let's go mini course, and you can pick multiple as well, which is really cool. So we want to just be like mini course owners. So again, at any point you can go in and set those filters, but if you just want to save that and be like owns mini course or mini course members, And you would obviously not call it mini course, you'd call it whatever your course was named. So you can then save that as a segment, and then it's going to be in your, oops, did I save it? Hopefully that worked. Okay, we're going to come into our segments. Mini course members is here, and you can then rename that. You can, I'm not sure why you would clone it actually, because you can't change, but anyway, you can, yeah, so you can rename or delete. So, you know, at some point I should probably go through and clean all of this up, because this is my experimentation area. And, you know, after you do a launch, you might want to clean it up as well, because you won't need to send emails based on those conditions. All right, so I've given you hopefully a few ideas of things that you can do in filters. Like I said, if you've got specific situations where you're like, how would I do this? Let me know. You know, go in and have a play, because we have got lots of different things. You know, events, registered, not registered, forms, submitted, not submitted. People, we've got different things. You know, is subscribed. You know, the member thing, yeah, I don't love the member thing, because you can't, once someone was a member once, even if they're no longer a member, it keeps them a member. So don't totally love that. But, you know, email sequence, you can, you know, subscribed or not subscribed, you can, you know, tag people like that if you're going to do some complicated email sequence building. You know, offers, you know, owns, don't own. Tags is another thing you can do, you know, adding, you know, has or doesn't have a tag. So yeah, play around with that. Ask me for ideas if you need it. Now I'm going to show you how you actually use them in terms of sending those different segments once you've created them in your marketing, and how you can also use and create segments as you go for your email. So I'm just going to attach this to a broadcast. You'll probably hear me say in broadcast emails, Kajabi does have these beautiful templates. I love them. However, I tend to mainly, like 95% of the time, use the classic editor. It's hidden away at the top. It is a text-based editor. And personally, I find, and for a lot of my clients, I find that text emails are far less likely to end up in spam than beautiful emails. Sometimes you just want to send a beautiful email, but I tend to mainly stick with those. You know, if there's something that has a countdown, sometimes I use a countdown, but generally speaking, classic editor is my preference. So I'm going to do, call this test. This is just to show you the audiences. So we're not going to go into emails today. I will do that in another day. I just like to, you know, just always pop that in about the classic editor, because that is my preference. Beautiful emails look good, but I prefer something that performs better. Okay, so at the moment, we've only got one person on my email list, which is myself, because everyone got unsubscribed automatically from Kajabi because the emails bounced because they were fake email addresses. I get it. You know, that's another way that Kajabi helps look after your list. It's going to do that for you, so you don't need to worry about, you know, scrubbing off those bounce people. So if you did notice that your email numbers dropped down, that could be why. So that's if it's a hard bounce. If there is this email does not exist message pings back to Kajabi, it'll just, you know, stop trying to send. I don't know if it happens the first time, or maybe it has to go through a couple of times. Anyway, all right. So who will receive this broadcast? This is where you've got all these segments. So the first thing that's going to come up is segments. So if you don't have like 100 like I do, if you just have a few, you can just go in there and be like, cool, I'm going to send to mini course members. Easy. You don't need to do anything else. You build that once, you just click mini course. Totally fine. Easy. If there is no segment already built and you don't want to go into people, maybe it's just a one-off, then you can go into custom segment and you can create them as you go. And this is where you will use the same filters. They'll just look a little bit different. You can also use this to attach a filter to a current segment that already exists, which is kind of cool. And then it's exactly the same filters, just displayed differently. This is what the filters look like in the other view that I showed you at the beginning. So we've got here our different filters. So we might want to be like owns mini course, but has not completed their assessment. So let's say that the mini course has an assessment at the end, and I want to email everyone who owns the mini course but has not completed this assessment. I'm going to go and choose it, and we're going to go module 1 and apply. And you can send this out as a single email sequence. So there can be a condition that they go in here, and when that condition is met, it will subscribe them to a sequence if you want to automate it. But I'm going to go into automations on another day. This might just be something that comes up on your list, say once a month. You can set a recurring task, email mini course members who haven't completed their assessment. And you can then just, that's an example of they own the mini course. So it's going to tell you the conditions, and they I set that as has completed. So I'm going to remove that and just add it back in again. And then if you create a segment in here in email, you can then save it. So next time as well. So if you're doing something in here, so I wanted to do created. Oh, completed. Oh no, so we're going to do past and failed. So maybe you can't do has completed. Oh, maybe we'd have to do that through a tag. I apologize. I'm going to walk that back. That might be something where if they have completed, yeah, maybe we'll do it as they have completed. I'm sorry. So hasn't completed might come under activity. So completed, then you would pick that, and then maybe anyone who's completed, you can send them, or anyone who's failed, etc. I'm going to pick something else now, so I'm not getting myself all confused. All right. So we might want to be member has not visited a page on your site in the last 30 days. They own this, but they have not been to the site in the last 30 days. That could be another example. It could be a tag. So they own this, but they are not registered to an event. Maybe you want to run a webinar for people who own the mini course. Maybe you did a free mini course as a lead magnet, and you're running a webinar and you're doing it through events and they're not yet registered. Or if you're doing it through forms, it could be has not submitted form. So you want to only target people who have the mini course, for example. Now, you might just want to not worry about anything complicated like that. Maybe you just want to send an email out to everyone who owns the mini course, everyone who is a current student. So that's, a way that you can do that. But, you can have a play around with custom segments. Like I said, if you want to get some ideas on what you can do, sometimes you need to just do that kind of multi-layer filtering, and, think about what you're trying to achieve, and then you can work out what filters that you want to do to achieve it. And sometimes it can be through a multi-step automation that, there's somewhere in Kajabi that you will add a tag, and then the tag, it's like when tag is added, then, do blah, 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 submit to a form. I think, no, when the form is submitted, then you can add a tag. Oh, I'm going to get myself all flustered. There's lots of different things that you can do. But yeah, if you tell me what you're trying to achieve, I can help you work out how to achieve it. All right, so once you've assigned that who will receive this broadcast, so this one's already in there. So we've got our mini course members. You might want to do it so is in the challenge. I think I had one of the ones down, but they don't own the product. Interested doesn't own product is when you are doing a launching and you've tracked people through your automations to say who has clicked on the links. So this does not own the product, but they have product interest tags. So that tag has been added when you've sent out previous emails, and you've tracked when people have clicked to the link, and when they've clicked it, you've added the tag product interest. So then you are emailing a hyper-specific, hyper-engaged portion of your audience. All right, so I'm just going to give you one other way that you can really easily, even more easily, email everyone who owns a product. So filters and segmentation is super cool. You can do lots of things in there, but I'm going to go into how you can super easily email everyone who owns your course or your membership. So let's go into, we'll go into July pattern because, oh, here we go. Membership's got 14 people. I think all the fake people on my list own the membership. When you come up here, you're going to see this under more, and you have announcements. Announcements is such a clever part of Kajabi because when you send out an announcement, it's classed as a transactional email, not a marketing email. So you don't have any ability to schedule it. You can't make it as pretty as you could make other emails, but look what you can do. You can send an email notification about this announcement to members of the product. So anyone who owns this product will be able to get this announcement. It's going to go out in the Kajabi system. So I'm going to show you where you can maybe fancy it up a little bit to get people to click on it. So you might be like, awesome. There's a tech Q&A. That's one that I've done before. You can say, join me for a free class on Kajabi. I should have coffee before I do these. All right, so join me for a free class. So you can only do it up to 50 characters, which is fine. And then you can go in and add some information. So you can only just use plain text images. You can put a link in. There is no, apart from bold, underline, italic, there's no HTML formatting. There's no like heading format. So it is just a simple basic email because it's going out through the transactional system. So, hey, there is a free class today. I'd love you to join me. Register here. Picture of something. So you can put, a picture. I usually on my sign-offs put a picture of myself for consistency, so people get to know that. If you've got a logo or something, you can add that in here because this is going to go out as a Kajabi email. All right, so let's just, I'd love you to join me. Let's bold that. Register here. You can then put in a link. I'm just going to put that just as a placeholder. So you can, do a little bit of formatting in here. The thing is, though, is when you click on this and you can't schedule it, so you got to do it, at the time, when you send an email, and you can send yourself a test email to see what it will look like, that is going to go out to everyone who owns your product, even if they have unsubscribed from your email. So if you've had a situation where you've created a product and people haven't ticked the box at the checkout to subscribe, and you just want to be able to contact everyone to tell them about something important to do with the product, you can use this announcement to do it. You're not going to be able to track, who opens, who clicks, any of that kind of stuff. And then it is going to add it to the announcement area of your product. So it's just a helpful way to get in touch with your students, and especially important if there is some kind of important information that you want to make sure all students see. And this is going to go out on a different email system to that marketing emails. It's going to go out as a Kajabi transactional email. Can't save it here. That is the, you just post it or not. That is the one thing. It's, you post announcement, and as long as you've got the button ticked, sometimes I forget to tick the button and I'll then go and re-tick it and post it again, so it'll come twice if you've forgotten. So that's the only thing. It's not quite as helpful as scheduling things in advance, but definitely a great way to do it. Now I'm just going to show you where you can make that look prettier. So we're going to come to settings. We're going to go to email templates, and in email templates, announcement notification. I would recommend not leaving this on the default because this is what it's going to look like on default. It's going to come up saying a new announcement has been posted on name of your product. And then it's going to, this is where the actual announcement is going to go. And then it's going to give them a login. So you can go and update this. And instead of saying new announcement on product title, so what's going to happen in the email is whatever you call, whatever you put in for the subject, that's not going to appear until this part. So it depends if you want to leave that saying new announcement on name of my membership, or if you want to be like important news about product title, or if you just want to, change it to important news or something like that, and then leave this announcement title here, which is then going to pull through that title. So you can preview it. You can send yourself a test email to see what that looks like. This announcement body, don't get rid of that because that is going to pull whatever is the announcement each time. But, you might want to friendly this up and don't say to log into the site, just follow the link. You might want to be like, hey, if you need to log in, here's the link to go and log in. And instead of signing off site title, you might want to sign off with your name, with something a bit friendlier, etc. And instead of saying a new announcement, maybe you want to update that, etc. So you can play around with that, make it a bit more you. And yeah, it's another, really helpful way to quickly and easily contact your students. If you want to be sending things in advance, like reminders of calls, then I would suggest to go and just set up that segment, because you can schedule your email broadcasts to go out. So for our weekly calls, if you are a Unicorn Heroes student, you'll get an email every week. So we go and schedule those, well in advance, because it goes out at 6 o'clock in the morning. And that goes out to the segment called Unicorn Heroes members. And then for the BU coaching program, we've got multiple calls and multiple things happening each week. So, those are all scheduled in advance with links through to the Zoom rooms for the coaching calls. We have a Kajabi drop-in room every week. So we send a link to that with, time calculator transfer information. So, that's some different ways that you can use those in advance. But yeah, if you want to get something really quickly, easily, you don't want to segment, you just want to get something quickly out to your members, use announcements. And sometimes just use announcements. They're really good if you have a free product, because sometimes, people may unsubscribe. And if you want to make sure that people know about it, then you can, send out this announcement. I would try and make it a little bit more friendlier. But yeah, you can use that as a way to contact people and to get them to come and log back into the product. So helpful. Glad, Alexandra, that you found it helpful. I just mentioned earlier, if you have specific situations with segmenting where you're like, how could I segment to this part of my audience? Let me know, and happy to run through, because there's, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of different scenarios. And sometimes it's just a case of going in and playing around with them. And yeah, it's nice to have so many different options of how you can do it, because in Kajabi, you've essentially just got one big bucket of people. You don't have lists like you do on some other email marketing software. So basically, yeah, you choose people that meet certain conditions to send emails to, rather than sending to your whole list. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that is your free Kajabi training for today. I hope you have enjoyed it. Now, have a beautiful day.